I read a quote in Forbes a couple weeks ago, kind of around the subject, but specific to the generational topic. And the quote was that millennials don't want just a job, they want an experience, which, you know, speaks to this elevated expectation of what's going to happen when I show up for work for me. And I know you have both research data and just some perspective on this whole generational generations at work conversation. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about what the research says. Let's talk about your opinion.
So I'll tell you what the research says, but I want to talk about my experiences going to HR conferences, speaking, working with leaders over the last 4 or 5 years. One question that was very popular and has been very popular is, how do we engage these millennials? They want different things than we do. They want different things than your generation, my generation, baby boomers. They're different than us. The fact is, they're not. We've done research on this. One misconception is they are the most engaged generation. About 18% of millennial employees are fully engaged. That's versus 13% or 12% for Gen X and baby boomers. So almost 50% more millennials are fully engaged than the other two more populated generations in our workforce. The differences are around definitions. So what their expectations around recognition might be are completely different than what
What constitutes recognition, what qualifies,
frequency,
communication, feedback, intervals. It's the nuancing.
The nuancing, absolutely. The other big difference is what a long time is for a millennial.
Sure.
So we asked people, do they intend to stay with their organization for a long time? Anybody who said agreed or strongly agreed with that, we put into a category. When we looked at those millennials who said, yes, I intend to stay a long time with my organization, we asked them how long a long time was. 50% said 2 years or less. So that's why, and it happens with every generation. It happened with us too. A long time for me when I got into the workforce was 18 months.
Right.
Because we had been, I'd been in school for 5 years, and 9 months was a long time in school. We changed classes every 3 months.
Yeah, 21, your long range thinking is different than it is at 41.
Yes. And so I think, first of all, we need to cut millennials some slack because they are putting forth more highly engaged employees than the other generations. Second is we need to teach leaders that they do interpret things a little bit differently. Their definitions of things are a little different than our generations and baby boomers. The last piece on this is, and in my opinion, I think the generations are the biggest diversity issue that we have. Just being tolerant of one another, being willing to understand each other, and being able to effectively communicate. Yeah. So it's been very interesting looking at that, and we did drivers of engagement. We did research on the drivers of engagement. They're slightly different between the generations. Baby boomers want a little bit more safety and security, and millennials want more career development opportunities. But it makes sense. If you're 55 years old,
sure,
yeah, you want to finish out your career with this organization. So safety and security, believe
it's all context with where you are in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly right.